We recently spoke with Chet Parsons and Jeffrey Abraham on a title, Who Will Power the Future? The Next Era of Battery Innovation. Coming from advertising and the motor industry, they argue that battery makers have little public recognition and that the sector's full open for disruption. Today, we continue that conversation with Keith Hoge, a battery insider. Keith started out in mechanical engineering before moving into technical sales, and at IM3NY, he led global sales and marketing. His perspective from inside a battery cell startup gives us a closer look at the challenges companies face in this space. So, welcome, Keith. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Natalie. I'm excited to be here.
So, Keith, you listened back to Chet and Jeffrey's conversation. What stood out to you?
Yeah, so I thought they were spot on when they noted that many battery cell manufacturers are not marketing directly to consumers, even though there are a lot of benefits in doing so. From my perspective, this is at least in part due to the fact that consumer marketing is challenging and expensive, especially when you're trying to build a new brand in a landscape of legacy businesses that already have widespread name recognition. Most newcomers to cell manufacturing are already cash strapped and looking to compete in a very capitally intensive business. Cell manufacturing facilities often require upwards of $100 million of investment per gigawatt hour of production. And they're often looking to scale to double digit gigawatt hour production levels to be competitive with low cost cells coming out of China. This makes it very difficult to justify a potentially expensive consumer-focused marketing campaign. It's often easier for these manufacturers to partner with an existing brand that's looking to bring on a US cell manufacturing partner and indirectly benefit from the name recognition that they've already built up over time.
And a lot of people assume branding doesn't matter much in a B2B, business to business industry like the battery industry. So, do you see this differently? Are you in agreement with does branding matter? What's your take on it?
I definitely think it matters. As the US battery space matures, I do think branding is going to be an increasingly important means by which companies can differentiate themselves. Cell manufacturers that make themselves directly visible to end users as opposed to allowing their technology to fall into a black box, they're going to gain some brand value that could give them a significant leg up. At the end of the day, they will need to have a strong technology that they can mass produce in a cost effective way. But gaining brand recognition on top of this could be the differentiator that puts them at the front of the pack.
And you mentioned really the cost in this industry, the startup cost to succeed. From your experience, how do startups juggle the pressure to deliver on technology and cost while also building a recognizable reputation?
I would say it's nearly impossible to build a recognizable reputation without having a strong technology that can be produced cost effectively. So I'd say that technology and manufacturing capabilities are paramount to any cell manufacturer's success. However, in building a strong technology and strong manufacturing capabilities, these companies are laying the groundwork for a strong brand name. I know Chet and Jeffrey mentioned the Energizer Bunny as being a creative, in many ways, groundbreaking marketing tool, and I'd agree with that. However, the prerequisite to the Energizer Bunny's success was the company building up their technology and manufacturing capabilities to a point where they can be a leader in the consumer battery space and deliver a high quality product at volume.
And from your personal experience, have you faced situations where the lack of brand recognition made it harder to win customers, funding, or partnerships, even when the technology behind the product was competitive?
Absolutely. It's a lot easier for a product designer to justify sourcing components from an established brand as opposed to a newcomer to the space. Even if the newcomer has technological differentiation that would result in a better product, there's inherently more risk. We can safely assume that a Samsung or a Panasonic will be in business in 5 years' time. The same cannot be said for many startups today. I think for that reason, it's important for startups to find strategic partners that might not only help fund the company, but could also act as a major customer of the product being made. If I'm a large institution like General Motors, for instance, that has strong financial backing, it's safer for me to purchase components from a startup knowing that I could potentially provide the financial backing that's needed to ensure that startup's success.
And looking ahead, do you see the potential for a household battery brand, an Intel inside of energy? And what would it take to get there?
Definitely. If we're talking specifically about a US cell manufacturer getting to that point, I think the key factor will be their technology and the manufacturability of that technology. It's incredibly difficult to make a non-differentiated LFP cell in the United States at a price point that is competitive with low-cost cells coming out of China, even with all the tariffs and subsidies that are in place. So I feel that we really do need a leapfrog technology, whether that's solid state batteries or otherwise, that enables us to avoid direct competition with traditional lithium ion cells, which is an industry that's been built up over the course of decades in China. There's a lot of development work in this space that gives me good reason to believe that this leapfrog technology is coming. It's just a matter of when.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Keith. It was really great chatting to you. And also just was so great to close the loop in the conversation. Talking to Jeffrey and Chet last month and talking to you, it just gives us that full picture and a rounded conversation. So thank you so much for your insights. It's been really valuable today.
No, thank you, Natalie. I really appreciate your time. I thought it was a great discussion and looking forward to more.